Good morning. So NIO had their NIO Power Day this night. I didn't watch it because it was a live stream, all in Chinese and on Weibo. But I can tell you the most important things about it, what was the message of this Power Day and what is significant for investors in this video. As always, it would be really cool if you would smash the like button early because this helps to reach more people to watch it. And for all of my patrons, I will try to download the original live stream, which was close to 2 hours, and make a translated version, at least with subtitles in English, so that you can actually watch the original. And I'm gonna post it as a Patreon link in the Patreon community. Now, the event of NIO Power Day was taking place at a smaller island out of Shanghai, and invited journalists and some users, and it was basically an event where they went through some media footage, and then they also had some testimonials by users, and then followed by a speech by Jin Li-hong, who is the co-founder and president of NIO. And well, he basically announced big plans for NIO to ramp the scaling of battery swap stations. That was the big message. So, well, kind of, let's say, a disappointment in terms of that they didn't announce any new, let's say, hardware or technology or any other innovation or anything else that we didn't know before. But of course, really big plans when it comes to scaling and the new build out of battery swap stations, not only in China, but worldwide. So we have seen the first images of swap stations being shipped from China to Norway, and also interestingly here, and that's important for NIO and for all of the Chinese, that the swap stations, but not only them, also the other power equipment has been tested by TÜV. So a quality check from Germany, which is actually quite big in China, and thereby making sure that it fits to the quality standards in Europe, that it can be imported, so it's very safe equipment. And basically this is also important for the brand building in China itself for NIO, because having such a certificate in China usually means a lot by a foreign institution, and basically testifying that this is really big quality standards here and very safe utilities. Anyways, the announcement was that NIO will kind of up the plans of not only building out 500 battery swap stations this year, but close to 700. So I talked about this also in a previous video, that NIO has already exceeded building out one battery station per day. That's the current pace, and it seems that they are actually going to increase that pace. So that's why they are now announcing new targets of having 700 stations by the end of the year in China. And in addition to that, they said by from 2022 to 2025, they are going to build 4,000 battery swap stations, and 1,000 of them going to be international. So with that, NIO is sending 3 messages with the Power Day. The number one is going to customers. They're basically saying, look guys, we are building out the infrastructure that you are used to while you have bought a NIO vehicle. We are going to deploy this and not going to stop. This is only getting better. We are gonna build more battery swap stations around the country, but also overseas. The second message that they're sending, and I'm going more into detail to that, is going to investors, because they're basically saying, look guys, we have ambitious plans, not only regarding the battery swapping stations, but it also tells us a little bit what they're planning about the fleet size. And basically they're sending the message that they have the operational data on both the cost, but also that that this is a USP, a business model innovation, which they are confident that they think it's now time to make it big. And the third message that they're sending is going to competitors. Look guys, you can join our system. We are open for others to adopt it as well. And if you're not adopting to it, well, you can see we are going to build it, and you need to deal with the consequences of that. So let's dive a little bit in the second aspect, because I think actually the plans tell us a little bit about the plans of NIO in terms of how many cars they're going to put out there. So here's what this means. Back to my good old NIO business case, and I just went through a 2-hour deep talk through this business case with my patrons. So if you're interested in that, join the Patreon community and you will be able to get the link to this full review. And basically the relevant topic for that in this regard is for the battery swapping station. I have actually planned that by 2028 they should have around 4,000 swap stations. That's the cumulative amount that they are going to build. And I have a couple of assumptions with that, like how many swaps they can do with that, and what will be the average utilization of the station and so far, and how many cars this can serve. Not going too much into detail during this video, but what I think is that this can support close to between 8 to 11 million NIO cars on the road if they have 4,000 battery swap station into place, because this is actually the assumption of my NIO business case, that between 2028 and 2029 they're gonna have around 4,000 swap station being built. So that's why, to me, this kind of was a message to investors, or at least when I got the insights of the presentation, I immediately thought, well, this really fits quite well with my projections of where NIO will be in 5 years out. And it kind of underlines like what I thought will be necessary of a kind of a charging infrastructure built out just from the swapping side, not mentioning the superchargers here. And in fact, it's kind of a confirmation of that. And so it kind of tells me that they are planning to, not only go global, but also they are planning with such a big fleet between 8 and 10 million cars on the road that can be supported by this infrastructure. Now, of course, this means also lots of cost implications. And if I just calculate it like roughly, I think this would mean investment of around 1.3 billion US dollars. And that's based on the fact that, well, if we calculate roughly with around 200,000 cost per battery swap station, which the media is currently putting out there for 4,000 swap station, this would roughly accumulate to around 800 million in capital spending on the swap station infrastructure. Plus, of course, each of those swap stations also can carry maximum 13 batteries. So for 4,000 swap stations, that would mean NIO needs 50,000 additional batteries that are not going into the cars, but they're going into the swap stations. And if we roughly calculate with a battery pack cost of 10,000 US dollars, of course, that's going to go and decline over the years. But then that would accumulate to another 500 million in investment. So that comes up to 1.3 billion of investment. NIO's cash position right now is 7 billion. So that would be a huge chunk of NIO's cash cushion there. So that tells me another thing. It tells me that NIO on the operational side is actually quite confident about their future cash flow. I think that they're not planning on entirely using all of their cash cushion just on building the infrastructure. I think that they can see that they will be slowly reaching profitability and also have lots of free cash flow because of this lean business model, that they are not owning the factories and that they have no distribution, that they have a direct sales model and so on. And that's giving NIO lots of marketing power and spending power, because they have not so much cash tied up in operations as have other manufacturers. So the question for them is where to align this cash, because it's for them it's an investment case, and it seems that they're spending a lot on infrastructure because they think this is their USP to leverage. And this is also where they possibly see additional sales coming from, because the more battery swap stations they build out, they can build this ecosystem where customers buy in and so on. So 1.3 billion US dollars sounds a lot, and it's a big capital commitment, and we need to see whether or not investors like that or not. And of course there are proponents out there who say, well, battery swapping is too costly and doesn't work, and supercharging alone is sufficient. But there are also reasons to believe why actually the capital commitment could even be lower than that. The first reason is that the additional batteries, 50,000, that are going to be used in order to support this entire fleet, and in relation to this entire fleet of 8 to 10 million cars, isn't actually that much. My calculations could be wrong on that, so take it with a pinch of salt. But if my calculations are right, this is just, you know, that in a couple of years, this will be not even a quarterly production of actually batteries that are needed to support this entire system. Then we need to be aware that these batteries will actually not be purchased by NIO. They will sit in the battery asset management company, which is an external company in which NIO, yes, has an investment, but also CATL has an investment, and in which NIO mentioned during previous earnings call that there is lots of investor interest in actually raising cash for this company. So it seems like there are quite a few people, investors out there, who are interested in participating in this battery swapping business model, which will be managed by this battery asset management company, an external company for which external funds are going to be raised and which are buying the batteries and have the batteries on the balance sheet. So actually those additional batteries for the swapping system will not be purchased by NIO and will be not on their balance sheet. Then also regarding the 700 million investment for the battery swap stations itself, yes, that's a big commitment, but what would be the alternative? The alternative would be to just build out supercharging stations, and they also cost money, right? So coming back to my battery swapping versus supercharger sheet here, which I also made a separate video about, I was making the assumptions that, well, the NIO swap station can support roughly 300 cars per day. In order to have the same with a supercharger, you need around about 5 supercharging stalls with an average cost of around $30,000. So that gives us $160,000 of cost for building a supercharger stall that can handle as many cars as the battery swap station. So this is roughly a $40,000 difference between a swap station and a supercharger, where the supercharger definitely has an advantage of being cheaper and leaner, but it also has the disadvantage that it's needing more space, the same issues around waiting hours and such. Anyways, this is kind of the opportunity cost there. So NIO is spending an additional $40,000 per swap station in opportunity cost for investing in this battery swapping mechanism, because otherwise they would need to build a supercharging station with to the cost that I just mentioned, right? So basically the supercharger in other ways would save them $40,000 in cost. But then if you multiply that by the entire ecosystem that they're building with the 4,000 station, that would roughly lead to 160 million of opportunity costs, so additional cost that NIO is now taking here of investing in battery swapping. And that's frankly not that much anymore, right? The batteries are on the battery swapping station asset management side, 160 million of investment as opportunity costs in order to invest in their major USP and something that they would like to scale not only in China but also globally. That sounds much more feasible to me. So that's how I look at it as an investor. You can tell me whether or not you think that this is the way they should go. Anyways, that's it for a small preview on the NIO Power Day. There was more to it. Possibly gonna do a second video on that. And yeah, gonna upload the full presentation if I can make hold of it with English subtitles for my Patreon. So thank you guys for watching. Please smash the like button and see you in the next one.